Welcome to another unit in this Excel course. This time I'm going to talk about the two functions IRR and XIRR. The IRR stands for internal rate of return and means that if we consider an investment, which here in this example leads to costs of 5,000 euros and generates in the later periods these cash flows, and we want to know what this outcome would actually compare to if we wouldn't have invested the 5,000 euros into this investment, but instead would have put this into a savings account. So what would have to be the corresponding interest rate which would lead to the same outcome? And well, that's the case as it is usually known, where we assume that all these cash flows occur at the same point in time, so basically always at the end of the year, with the same time difference between them. If we instead want to set specific dates for when each of the cash flows happens, that's where the XIRR comes into play. So the difference is always at the same point in time or same date when the cash flows happen. Here I'm actually setting the dates on my own. Well, let's have a look how the functions work. Here we have IRR. Then it basically only needs the values. We could make the calculation process a little bit easier by giving him a first guess on what the result could be. This is usually a good choice if you suspect that there are more than one possible outcome which could be close together, because what he does is he basically tries to find a solution to a polynomial, which in this case has up to 6 different solutions. So he usually starts with something near to 0, but if you actually have more than one possible outcome, could be that you get a slightly off result. So if you have a good first guess, enter this, else if you don't, simply leave it blank and he tries to find the one closest to 0. So here in this case, this would actually be 12%. So something which is as good, a savings account which is basically as good as this investment, would have to offer you 12%, at least 12%. Similarly, here with the XIRR, it's only one thing we have to add more. It's besides here the same dates, same values, we have to add the dates when each of these cash flows occur. So what we're doing here is simply select the dates, and then, similar to before, we have a potential guess on what the cash flow, the interest rate or rate of return could be. Here in this case, and that's a different way, it depends on the format of the cells. Here we would get 22.8%. Well, also makes sense that this is slightly larger than this one here, because if we take a look, the first two cash flows happen on the time axis much closer to the original investment than is the case here. Here we assume investment, and only after basically 1 year each of the cash flows takes place. Here it's after 2 months the first cash flow already happens, and then in the same year there's again another cash flow. So this is actually much closer to the original investment, leading to a higher rate of return. Well, that's basically it on the internal rate of return calculation in Excel on the two different versions. One version where we assume the cash flows to always happen at the same date, whereas with the advanced the extended version, we set specific dates for when each of the cash flow happens. Well, as I said, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed it. I say goodbye and see you next time.